With perspective from the other side of the aisle, as we do here. Joining me now is Democratic Congresswoman from Virginia, Jennifer McClellan. We want to thank you very much as well for being here today. All right, so let's just start with your response to Congressman Downing on the ongoing Senate bill of what's happening. Let's talk about what's happening in Washington first.
Well, first of all, I don't understand why the Senate is rushing through this giant bill that adds to our deficit, that strips health care away from millions of Americans, that takes food assistance from millions more, including children. And when this bill came through the House in the middle of the night, I would say, and I was on the committee that had a 26-hour hearing. I was in the Rules Committee that went through the night. We debated it through the night and voted on it early in the morning. There were things in the bill that Republicans didn't even know were in it. And so I think it's a good thing if they're not going to take their time, actually let it be scored and make sure everybody understands what's in the bill. Then I applaud the Senate Democrats for making them read it out loud. I would say under this bill, if you are in the top 10% of earners, if you make $500,000 or more annually, you're going to love this bill. But if everybody else, and especially if you're in the bottom 20% of earners, you're going to hate it. And the more people read it, hear about what's in it, Democrat, Republican, independent, rural, suburban, urban, they hate the bill mainly because of the gutting of Medicaid, the gutting of SNAP benefits, and stripping health insurance away from millions of Americans in a way that will put particularly our rural hospitals at risk.
You know, those are the lines that are really concerning to a lot of people that you bring up. And as you mentioned, senators are now doing this out loud reading of the 940-page mega bill. We want to take a listen to Senator Marshall on the Hill Sunday pushing for these Medicaid cuts. Let's listen.
I want to emphasize we're not cutting spending. We are actually increasing spending on Medicaid over the next 10 years at a rate higher than inflation. We're going to end up spending $200 billion more per year than what we are right now.
All right. So what's your response to that?
What they're doing is stripping health insurance from millions of Americans, in my state, hundreds of thousands of them. They made that same claim in the committee, but this bill does nothing to actually address the increase in health care costs. And none of the savings from this bill are being invested back in the Medicaid system. What they are doing is through changes in eligibility, onerous bureaucratic paperwork requirements, they are making it much more likely that millions of Americans will be kicked off of Medicaid. We have seen in the 2 states that implemented what they call work requirements that people who were working and even under the requirements were eligible for Medicaid lost it because they could not meet the burdensome requirements. And we saw in the state of Georgia, they spent more to implement that process than they did on the cost of care. So I think that I heard them say in the 26-hour hearing, we're just strengthening Medicaid for future generations. No. And then when this bill went to the Senate, the changes that they made it to the provider tax put our rural hospitals at risk. We got a list of at least a half a dozen rural hospitals in Virginia, including in my district, that would close under the Senate version of the bill. In my district, in Emporia, a town that has already in the last year been hit by 2 major employers closing, could then lose their hospital. And so I think this bill is going to devastate the American healthcare system. And again, 16 million Americans who lose their health insurance, they're still going to get sick. They're just going to show up in the hospital in the emergency room when it's much more expensive to treat them if they can be treated. And the cost of that care is going to raise insurance prices for everybody else.
Yeah, those are the things, again, that so many people, and Mike Johnson had posted something, a letter that he got from some of the local hospitals in Louisiana, sounding the alarm bells on that. Overall, I want to zoom in now to your party, because here in New York, Zohran Mamdani, the recent winner of the Democratic primary for mayor of New York City, making headlines, Democratic leaders, largely backed former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo. So we had this huge back and forth this week. Let's take a listen.
I don't think that we should have billionaires because, frankly, it is so much money in a moment of such inequality. And ultimately, what we need more of is equality across our city and across our state and across our country. And I look forward to work with everyone, including billionaires, to make a city that is fairer for all of them.
So a lot of people are trying to get their heads around some of his ideas, Mamdani's democratic socialist views. Do you agree with that soundbite right there and his mission overall?
Look, there are lots of things that Democrats are going to disagree over. I think the real message of this race, just like the message of the 2024 race, and in Virginia we have elections every year, so I'll even throw in the 2021 governor's race. When you have a candidate that is reaching out to the people, meeting them where they are, where they receive their information, how they receive their information, listening to them and addressing the issues that are top of mind to them, they're going to win. And if they don't do that, they're going to lose, no matter what their positions are. But, you know, my understanding from my friends that I talked to in New York is that Mamdani was very laser focused on addressing affordability, which was the issue that was top of mind for New Yorkers. And so I think, you know, we're going to have issues that we disagree over, just like Republicans have issues they disagree over. Not every Republican agreed with everything that then candidate Trump said. But if you have a very clear message and you are reaching voters where they are, where they receive information, in a world where they receive information in a wider variety of places ever, and you are being your authentic self and addressing the issues they care about, you're much more likely to win. And I think that's the message that Democrats need to take away.
Well, I appreciate your perspective. I hope to have you back on the program. Virginia Democratic Congresswoman Jennifer McClellan, thank you so much for joining us today.